3 carrier strike groups, 12,000 Marines, 2 amphibious assault ships crossing the Pacific at flank speed. The United States just assembled the largest seaborne invasion force since the Iraq War, and the target is not a city, not a military base, not a nuclear facility. The target is a 14-square-kilometer island in the Persian Gulf that most Americans have never heard of. But every oil trader on the planet knows exactly what it is. Kharg Island, the single point through which 90% of Iran's entire oil export capacity flows every day. The Pentagon did not send 12,000 Marines to fight. It sent them to take control of the one lever that funds the entire Iranian war machine, and to do it with the infrastructure intact. To understand why this operation rewrites the strategic logic of the entire conflict, you need to run one number. Iran exports roughly 1.5 million barrels of crude oil per day through Kharg Island's loading terminals. At current market prices, that is approximately $120 million in daily revenue. Multiply that by 365, and you get the financial engine that keeps Hezbollah operational in Lebanon, that keeps the Houthis firing missiles from Yemen, that keeps IRGC proxy networks funded across Iraq and Syria. Destroy Kharg Island's infrastructure, and you do not merely inconvenience Tehran. You cut off the cash supply that sustains every forward-deployed element of Iranian regional power simultaneously. The United States did not need to defeat Iran's army. It needed to defeat Iran's payroll. Kharg Island is the payroll. Now understand what made this operation look impossible on paper 12 months ago. The island sits 25 kilometers off the Iranian coastline, directly inside the overlapping kill zones of 3 separate defensive layers that Iran spent 4 decades engineering. Start at the surface. The IRGC Navy fields over 1,500 fast attack craft, small fiberglass hulls capable of 50 knots, each carrying anti-ship missiles or suicide boat payloads. Their doctrine is not precision. Their doctrine is mass. Enough simultaneous vectors to overwhelm the processing capacity of any single defensive system. A landing fleet approaching Kharg Island would present those boats with a target-rich environment in confined, shallow waters exactly suited for swarming tactics. Go underwater. The approaches to the island sit in the same shallow acoustic clutter where Iranian Kilo-class and domestically built midget submarines operate. Shallow water defeats the sonar arrays that work perfectly in deep ocean. An amphibious fleet tracking surface threats simultaneously faces an invisible threat below the waterline. And mines. The seabed between the Iranian coast and Kharg had been seeded with contact mines, bottom influence mines, and EM-52 rocket-propelled mines that sit dormant until a ship's magnetic signature triggers an upward launch. Conducting an amphibious assault through an active minefield while tracking submarine contacts and repelling fast boat swarms is not a difficult tactical problem. It is 3 simultaneous impossible problems stacked on top of each other. Then add the layer that made naval planners most uncomfortable: the land-based missile batteries positioned in hardened mountain facilities along the Iranian coastline. The Khalij Fars anti-ship ballistic missile, a weapon that descends on a maneuvering surface target from high altitude at Mach 3. The U.S. Navy has never faced a weapon with that flight profile in actual combat operations. The engagement window is measured in seconds against a slow-moving amphibious fleet packed with vehicles, fuel, and 12,000 Marines. A single successful Khalij Fars salvo would not sink a ship. It would end the operation. On paper, the Kharg Island amphibious assault was a problem with no clean solution. Every variable pointed toward catastrophic risk, which is exactly why what happened between February 28th and March 16th matters so much. Because the United States did not solve those variables. It eliminated them one at a time before a single Marine set foot in a landing craft. The sequence began with the air campaign. B-2 Spirit stealth bombers flying from Diego Garcia used GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, 30,000-pound bunker-busting weapons capable of breaching hundreds of meters of reinforced concrete to destroy the underground command and control nodes coordinating Iran's coastal defense network. Without central coordination, 1,500 fast attack boats are not a synchronized swarm. They are 1,500 isolated threats operating without targeting data. Manageable. Simultaneously, B-52 aircraft firing JAS-SMER cruise missiles from beyond Iranian radar range systematically dismantled the coastal missile battery sites that housed the Khalij Fars launchers. The weapons that could kill the landing fleet were destroyed before the landing fleet arrived. Then the LCS platforms went to work. Independence-class littoral combat ships deployed mine countermeasures packages using unmanned surface vehicles, airborne laser detection systems, and expendable underwater neutralization robots. The approach corridor to Kharg Island, the waterway that Iran had spent months converting into a minefield, was cleared by machines. Not a single sailor entered the threat zone. The robots mapped the seafloor, identified the mines by shape and magnetic signature, and destroyed them at the source. The tactical problem that had made amphibious assault suicidal became, lane by lane, a cleared channel. The submarine threat was addressed through coordinated ASW operations. U.S. attack submarines repositioned to deny Iranian submarines freedom of maneuver in the shallow approaches, while P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft flew continuous coverage patterns overhead. By the night of March 13th, the geometry had changed completely. Kharg Island's integrated air defense network had been neutralized by precision strikes. Its IRGC garrison had been dispersed, not destroyed, dispersed by targeted bombardment that left the oil terminals, the loading platforms, the storage tanks, and the pipelines entirely untouched. That last detail is the one that matters most. The U.S. military fired with surgical precision not to destroy Kharg Island, but to empty it. Every strike avoided the infrastructure. Every strike targeted the defenders. When USS Tripoli, USS New Orleans, and USS San Diego arrived with the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit embarked, the island they were approaching was no longer defended. Its radar was blind. Its missile batteries were rubble. Its garrison had withdrawn. The Marines did not assault a defended position. They occupied a vacated one, and they secured every oil terminal, every pipeline valve, every loading arm, exactly as the Pentagon had planned from the beginning. 90% of Iran's oil export capacity is now under American administrative control. The regime that built its entire deterrence strategy around economic warfare, around using energy disruption to drive inflation in Western markets and destabilize Western governments, is watching the one tool that funded that strategy change hands without the infrastructure taking a single hit. The IRGC commanders who designed Iran's layered coastal defense network spent decades building a cage around these waters. They built it to keep the United States out. What they did not model was an adversary that would dismantle every lock on the cage before the door was even tried. Kharg Island fell not because 12,000 Marines overwhelmed its defenders. It fell because by the time those Marines arrived, there was nothing left to defend against them. That is not a victory of mass. That is a victory of sequence. And the sequence was engineering, not aggression. The United States did not conquer Kharg Island. It solved the equation that Kharg Island represented, and the answer was always the same. Control the revenue. Everything else follows. The kill switch is no longer in Tehran's hands.